Malcolm Louie here. Welcome to Eversprint.com. Today we're speaking with Jason Duncan, the founder, president, and CEO of Energy Lighting Services, a fast-growing company that designs, installs, and maintains the most energy-efficient lighting systems on the planet. We'll be discussing how he grew his company's revenue from $1.2 million in 2014 to $5.6 million in 2017, a 367% increase, and how they are on track to hit $10 million this year. Welcome to the call, Jason.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Jason, how did you do it? How did you grow your company's sales so fast?
Well, I think it's a combination of market factors and an amazing team. You know, the market is a place right now where everybody's looking for opportunities to reduce operating expenses so that their net profit margins aren't unaffected. And what we do is show companies how they're effectively losing money by using inefficient lighting systems in ways that they can reduce their operating expenses, increase their net profit margins, and how it has effect to not just the bottom line, but how it has a top line effect as well. And then our team has grown phenomenally over the last 4 to 5 years. We've added a lot of new people on the bus, so to speak, and we got the right people on the bus, and we're riding in the right direction, and people are doing their jobs in a great way. They love working here, and they serve our customers well.
All right, great. So in terms of the market, certainly I could see the value in saving on your utility costs. Now, are you finding, is your growth driven primarily from new business and new customers, or are you upgrading your past customers as well?
Well, a lot of our customers are new customers. So year over year, we're just adding new customers to the mix. But some of our larger customers, some that are national and international companies, are coming back to us, a year or two down the road and saying, hey, we have a few million square feet that we need you to look at in another state or in 2 or 3 more states, or we've got more facilities that we've brought on. Can you come take a look at those? That's not a large portion of our business, but it is significant enough that it's a high revenue portion of the business. So it's not a number of customers issue. For instance, if you look at numbers of customers just percentage-wise, the repeat customers are a small percentage of that. But when they do come back to ask us to do more work for them, it's usually in the multi-millions of dollars of opportunity.
Great. Now you mentioned before that the bulk of the growth is coming from acquiring new customers. How are you finding them?
We are part of several really good networking groups and professional organizations in the Nashville market and in the Memphis market. One of which, namely, is I don't mind giving them a plug. It's City Current, and they started in the Memphis market, and they're now, of course, in the Nashville market too. And so we're members in both markets. We've been there for a little over 3 years, and we have developed some amazing relationships with other business owners, with other executives, with other nonprofits, and as a result of that, our brand awareness has grown. So people know who we are because we're involved in these other networks. We've spent a lot of time investing time in local chambers of commerce. We've got a good PR company, of course, that helps us get our name out there. We've been in several articles in the National Business Journal. We've been nominated and won several awards, and so that our brand recognition is growing. So it's not that our phone is ringing off the hook. People can't wait to do business with us, but when we do find ourselves in front of an opportunity, they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, I think I remember reading about you guys in the National Business Journal, or yeah, I saw that you were on the Inc. list, Inc. 5000 list this year. So it's helping. Now, besides all that, I've got an amazing sales staff. They're very good at their job. They're good at prospecting, going out and developing and relationships and showing value to people that otherwise wouldn't have thought about doing this to begin with.
How are they going about finding the people to contact your sales team?
Well, I think a lot of that. Well, I think a lot of that is going to be, LinkedIn, of course. LinkedIn being the place where business professionals connect. So we use LinkedIn. We also have access to a lot of networking platforms, as I mentioned earlier, who provide us access to a lot of people. So, for instance, we may be connected with 30 to 70 organizations inside City Current or some of the local chambers, but those people have access to other people. So we may say, hey, we know we need to get in touch with people who are in the hospitality or the healthcare business? Who do you know? And we'll get a list. Hey, these are 15 people that I know that would love to sit down and talk with you. So that's one way that they're getting that as well. So we don't do a ton of just churning up cold opportunities. Most
Okay.
of it's going to be a warm opportunity through a connector of some sort.
Okay. Now, in the city current, can anyone join that group, or are they very selective as to who they let in?
They are very selective, and for good reason. Obviously, there's a certain level of person and a company that they want represented inside the organization, and it isn't exclusive in the sense that only one company of each industry is allowed in. So there's only one insurance company, one bank, one company who does what we do, et cetera. And as a result, there's obviously there are fees to be involved, and there are certain minimum requirements for participation. But generally, anyone can apply to be a part of it and say, hey, I want to be part of City Current. But they're going to be selective, and they're going to make sure that you've got obviously the ability to engage the way that City Current expects. And their focus is much more on the philanthropy and the nonprofit and the giving back, and their hashtag Power of the Good. They're really involved in the community. So it's not just for people looking for business, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. What's your number one source of new leads for your sales team to talk to and reach out to?
Our number one source is just through people that we know, connectors.
Okay. And the connectors and your relationships with them, is it all through one-on-one face-to-face sort of communications, or do you do any sort of automated outreach, automated communications with them?
We used to do quite a bit of automated. We spent a couple of years kind of working through some of the automated systems for lead generation, and what we found is that it would create a lot of activity for us, but it never really delivered the it never really delivered the bottom line of what we needed. So the automated stuff for us didn't seem to work. But when we were able to do some more organic relationships using some of the automated software to follow up automation, et cetera, that seemed to help much more than just, cold emails going out or cold calls going out or cold letters going out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So cold calls, cold emails, you tried them out, cold letters, didn't work out so great.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the exception to the rule. One of our largest international customers was a cold call I made from my car driving by about 6 years ago, and that turned into we've probably done close to $7 million, $8 million worth of business with them. So that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's just not what we're going to rely on.
Right. Okay. How about advertising? Do you do any sort of advertising, either online or through traditional media? And how has that worked out for you?
We do not do much advertising at all. The only advertising we have been engaged in historically has been, just as more of a goodwill to be a part of a chamber, a chamber magazine or a chamber ad or something like that, or we might sponsor some meeting, maybe it's an engineers association meeting or a healthcare association meeting. We'll sponsor that. So to that degree, we've been very selective. That being said, we just this year, in July of this year, rolled out our electrical services division, which is allowing us access to not just do commercial, but also residential electrical services. And that type of business as a service business, you almost have to have some form of traditional advertising and marketing in order to stay relevant in the marketplace. So we are currently looking at what that might look like. How would we advertise in local magazines? Or we even looked at radio, and we decided against radio at the time, but we might, when we looked at it about a year ago, but now that we have this new service organization, our service division rather, I think we might look into it. But we haven't done a lot. We're considering some of it, and we'll probably do more in the future.
Sure. So what's the thinking behind going into the residential businesses side of things?
Well, it's not that we decide that we want to do residential, because historically we've never really wanted to do residential, because there's certainly margins are lower, the opportunities are fewer and far between, and the dollar amounts just the revenue is obviously a lot lower as well. But when you're doing electrical service work, it's almost it's necessary, because in order to get your name built, you've got to be out there serving people. So what we're trying to focus on now is to go to our current partners that we either do business with, or we are we're a vendor of, or they're a vendor of ours, or they're part of our city current platform. We're going to them and offering them deals and specials. Hey, let us come service your homes. Let us come do your neighbors. Let us come do the people that you know from your church, because we want to build up the reputation as being an excellent service company, because so many service companies out there are really terrible at delivering the services that they do. It's just we want to set ourselves apart. Ultimately, we think that long term we want to be simply in the commercial service market, but right now we've got to do residential in order to get our name and our reputation built as an electrical service company.
Right. So from 2014 to 2017, your revenue increased 1.2 million to 5.6 million over 3 years, right? About a $4.4 million growth. And then from last year, 5.6 million, to what is looking like a $10 million year this year. What changed to allow you to almost double your growth and double your revenue in a year?
Well, a lot of people don't believe in momentum. They think it's just a figment of our imagination, when in fact momentum is a real thing. And so companies today that have been in existence for 125 years may in fact only be in business because of momentum. They suck at delivering what they deliver. Their products are not competitive anymore, but their name recognition has been so amazing and they may have been in a commodity marketplace. Momentum is the only thing kept them in business. Well, momentum can keep a company in business, but momentum can also excel a company like ours that's, we're an 8-year-old company, to newer heights. So we spent 8 years developing to a point where we're up to 5, 6 million in sales. But every year we're in business, our momentum gets better and better and better. And where an old company, momentum may keep them in business in spite of themselves, momentum actually is helping us because of what we're doing. So we get better. We're better in 17 than we were in 16. We're better in 18 than we were in 17. 19 is going to be a better year than this year. And I'm not talking about just revenue. I'm talking about our ability, our knowledge, our abilities to serve customers better, what we know in the marketplace, how we're able to attack a problem. So momentum is the thing that's actually getting us to the next level. Momentum helps us when we get a big customer. So if we've got a national account that we land, well, year one, that national account may only do a couple $1 million with you, but once you get the momentum with them and they realize, oh, wow, you really do know what you're doing, you're executing with excellence, then the next year they're going to give you twice as much opportunity. So it builds year on year on year on.
Right. So you said before about how you get better on different attributes, right? Execution, ability, knowledge. How do you keep the knowledge? For sure, a lot of it's is within the people's heads who you have working. Do you have systems in place? Do you have technology in place to help share that knowledge with everyone else?
Yeah, we believe we're very big believers in systems, because if a person is removed, you can't rely on that person's presence to continue the business. You have to rely on the system. And the systems are the thing that can be managed better and can be controlled better than people. So what we do is we set up the systems, and then we train our people to work within those systems so that they perform with excellence. And if someone is in the system and is not performing with excellence, we remove them, because the system is important. The system is something that keeps us going. So how we do business development, how we do the sales, how we do marketing, how we do our administration, how we do finance, how we do project management or field supervision, how we secure and source products, to a large degree, and we've got a long way to go, but to a large degree, most of that is we have spent years developing a system for each of those areas, so that no matter who steps into the system, as long as they're a competent and professional individual with lots of enthusiasm, intelligence, integrity, they're going to be able to perform with excellence inside that system.
Okay. And what metrics are you tracking within your systems? Maybe give an example of one of your systems and how you're watching it, you're measuring it, and then if you see your KPIs for that system start dropping off, maybe give an example of what action you might take to make sure the system resumes its path of excellence?
Okay, so there's two systems that I might use as example. One, I'll go a little more into detail. The first is our just project management and project planning. So we have two departments. There's a project planning department that works on the front end that does our, the auditing and the sourcing and the incentive work, all the things, all the kind of the guts on the back end of the office stuff where we have to figure out what the project is going to look like. And then the project management team, once the project is actually live, project management team steps in and takes over, and they execute the project. They make sure the product is delivered on time, that the installers have what they need, that they know what they're supposed to be doing day in and day out, and they make sure the project is finished on time and under budget. So at the end of that project, both of those teams get together, and there is the KPI form that they fill out that says, okay, how did we deliver? I mean, was our audit accurate? And they give themselves a grade on accuracy. Were the quantities delivered? Were they accurate? Was it delivered on time? Did we start and end the project on time? And so they give themselves grades. But not only that, they also go out they go to the customer, and we do a survey, in the form, ask them some similar questions, obviously not as deep, but they ask some questions of, how did you think about our delivery, and how did we do on start and end times? Did we deliver with excellence, et cetera? And we put and combine those two grades, and we decide, did the system work? Was there places that we could have done better? Was it a performance issue on our side, or is there a tweak need to be made in the system? So that's on the project management side of things. On the sales side of things, I think that, and I won't go into a whole lot of detail here, but we do the very same thing for our salespeople. We have a very specific system from prospecting all to delivery of proposal. And there are many steps in between, and we grade. Each salesperson is graded on how they move through that system. So, a certain number of prospecting calls must be made every single week, and if you only did 90% of those prospecting calls, then you get you get a 90% or an A. If you did 80%, you get a B, et cetera. And we literally grade it like that. So week on week, they're looking at, hey, last week I had a C in prospecting, I need to get my prospecting up. So they're watching that system, and they know how it works. And then once they've been employed for a year, we go back in and adjust the assumptions. So when they first start, we make some assumptions. You got to do this many prospecting calls to get to this many first touches to get to this many discovery calls, et cetera. So we're grading it all the way along, but it was based on assumptions. At the end of that first year, we say, well, we thought you were going to do a 50% close rate. Well, it's actually you're doing 60, so we can change the assumptions, or vice versa.
Right. Okay. So you're doing assessments once a year, or are you doing assessments quarterly and then making adjustments?
Our sales team meets every single Monday and goes over the grades of last week. So we're looking at this on a granular level. Once a quarter, our sales director sits down with the salespeople and goes over their quarterly numbers and then once a year, we go through and look at them again and make the actual adjustments to the assumptions.
Right. Okay. So for this year, you're on track for 10 million. What are you aiming to target in 2019?
Well, I really, when we went into this year, we set a goal of somewhere around, we did 5.6 last year. We were setting a goal to do somewhere around 7. That's really kind of what we thought that would be a realistic, but we're on track with some of the accounts we've landed to maybe exceed that and maybe get to 10. I don't want to jinx myself, but we might end up being there with some things. Next year, I think with the momentum, as I mentioned earlier, that we're moving into 19 with, I think that we might be able to get to 20. That would be amazing if we did, but I sincerely believe it'll be somewhere between 10 and 15.
Okay. And what changes, what plans, what strategies will you execute differently to get you to that level next year? Well,
I think that we're trying to be much smarter about how we do things. In the last 24 months, we've grown quite a bit on the the employee count, head count. We've expanded our space in our office, and I think there have been times, if I'm going to be honest with myself, that we made some bad decisions about how we hired people, hired maybe too fast, maybe did some things quicker than we should have. and I think we've learned a lot on how to engage with our team members and how to engage with our customers to make sure that we're not going too fast, that we're
Right.
methodical and we operate with expediency, but we're not hasty. And I think that's
Right.
the thing that we've learned. So, our head count grew over 2 years, I think 100%. Maybe I don't know what the percentage is. Well, right now we could probably keep twice as many people busy at a spurt, but I want to make sure that I'm not just keeping people busy for a few weeks and then they're twiddling their thumbs for a few weeks. So we're trying to figure out how to make it long term. So we're stretching folks as far as they can stretch before we need to add the next person into their spot.
Right. I imagine the residential service side of things can help smooth out the utilization of your team.
I think it will, and that's a good point that you bring up, because once this really starts going, I mean, our service electrician that we hired, I mean, he's not been sitting around a lot. I mean, we've been able to keep him busy, and that's good. And I think that our goal is within a year to have we've got one service electrician, one van right now, and we're serving a small area. But my goal is within the next year or two, we have that up to 3, 4, 5 vans that we're running a lot of service. And most of that, obviously, we want to be focused on commercial, but we know that residential is going to be a part of that.
Right. What sort of trends do you see unfolding over the next, say, 5 years or so that you want to get in front of and ride? And perhaps if there are some negative trends, the ones you want to step out of the way and not get whacked by them?
Well, I think the negative trends are that lighting in general, because that's the business that we're in, is becoming, the LED part of it is becoming very commoditized. It's just the way that lighting has been for the last 70 to 80 years, where we've got to be careful that the reality is that lighting today with LED technology is in fact a technology, and it needs to be treated with the same thought, consideration, and financial consideration that every piece of technology in any commercial business that they look at. So for instance, if they're looking at a new telecom system, they don't just say, give me the cheapest telephones you got. They want to make sure it provides the value and meets the needs. They don't just buy the cheapest computers that are available, the cheapest printer networks, or they're making sure they're buying what they need, and they're not just looking at as a simple commodity. Well, with lighting, because there's so many things that can be done with it. I mean, you can do wayfinding with lighting, because lighting can be a Wi-Fi spot in every single room in every building, and the lighting can be the network. Well, if that's the ability that lighting has, don't just go buy the cheapest light bulb you can find on Google. You might want to talk to somebody about, how can I use this light to deliver services to my customers and to my employees in a way that protects our building, makes it safer, delivers better value, etc. So we're very much into making sure that the lights that we source are smart lights, that they are the most efficient possible light that the customer can use, and that they meet all the international and national lighting standards, so that people are safe in the workplace.
Right. How about some positive trends that you can take advantage of?
I think the positive trends go back to what I was mentioning there with the connectivity. The Internet of Things, IoT, is becoming a buzzword, and that's the big trend right now. So if everything's going to be connected, if everything's going to be on a network, what is the one thing that's in every single room and every building in the world? It's a light. There's a light in every room, right? So if you're going to connect everything, it makes sense that would be the thing that you could use to make sure that everything is connected. So if a light emitting diode, an LED light, has a circuit board in it, and that's how it operates, all you have to do is put another circuit board, a communication circuit board, a Wi-Fi signal, and maybe a Bluetooth signal on that circuit board, and now you've got connectivity in every single room.
Right. Is there a solution out there now that people are buying and using?
Absolutely. There are lots of opportunities right now. Just like everything else, there's your early adopters, and there's your everybody that's going to kind of get in the middle, and there's the laggards. Right now, we're seeing a lot of the early adopters are wanting to go head on into this connectivity with lighting. But what we're seeing too is that there's some of the folks that would kind of be in the middle on the bell curve that they're going, wait a minute, I actually think this is a good idea. Let's look at it. The costs may still be a little high for some people, but it just depends on what function they're trying to deliver. For hospitals, wayfinding and being able to asset track, when you can do that through your lighting system, hospitals they're missing something if they're not looking at this as an opportunity right now.
Right. That sounds really interesting. I could see the application for asset tracking in hospitals, especially, right? They have a lot of things there that they need to account for, right? Especially in the pharmacy section.
Yes.
So, very interesting. What do you think is the one, from an operational level, what's your biggest challenge for growing your sales and taking it to the next level? I know earlier you mentioned about being a bit more careful in your decision making, not moving too fast, not hiring too quickly. Is that your biggest challenge, or is there another challenge that you're most mindful of?
Well, I think a lot of the folks listening may sympathize with this. When you grow a company, I was an 8th grade American history school teacher before I started this company. I didn't know anything about lighting, and I quite frankly didn't know a whole lot about running a business. But when you're trying to make it, you figure things out pretty quickly. What I've learned over the years of running this company is that culture is my number one priority as a CEO, as a president, as a business leader. I want to make sure that culture is perfect, because the way I teach my team is that there are 5 pillars to excellence, and culture is the first pillar. It doesn't matter how the other pillars are. If the bridge was perfect on those last 4 pillars, if culture is not in the place, then the bridge is worthless if you can't get on the bridge. So we teach excellence in culture, data management, cost management, communication, and service in that order. And so culture for me is important. But here's the trick. When you grow a company from 0 people up to 10 people, 10, 15 people, culture is easy, right? Because I'm involved in everything, and I can pay attention to it. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's involved in every decision. But as we've gotten past the 20 employee mark, you lose the ability as a CEO, as the founder, to influence that culture as strongly as you did before. So we've gone through those growing pains over the last 12 months, and I've had to make some very, very difficult and hard decisions about some of our team members that I would have, if there were only 10 of us, I might not have had to make. But when there's 25 to 30 of us, I'm having to make some difficult decisions, and my decisions are made primarily based on the fact that I'm trying to protect culture. I want to make sure that people feel fun, feel safe, feel like they're accomplishing something, they're fulfilled. And, I'm a Jesus follower, and I pray every single day for my employees by name, because I want them to enjoy what they do, that they can deliver the services to my customers in a way that makes them better, and that they're fulfilled in their jobs. So culture is so important. And so operationally, one of my challenges is moving out of working in the business every day, doing what I used to do, from sitting in my chair trying to figure out ways, how do I engage and run this company so that everybody is operating at 110%, and they're doing it with excellence, and they're loving it as they're doing it.
So how well have you done that in your assessment, looking past 4 years? How well have you hit that target of everyone working with excellence and loving what they're doing?
I think that if I had to grade myself like we grade everybody on our systems, I would probably give myself a B. I think just in the growing process, we grew so fast over the last couple of years, and I didn't know that moving past that 20 person mark, there would be such a dramatic shift in just the feel of everything. So had I known that, had somebody told me, hey, when you get past 20, watch this, I would probably have done a much better job. But nobody told me. I didn't know. And I've read tons of business books, and I don't think anybody I don't remember any of them telling me, hey, when you get past the 20 mark, you got to be careful. But so I'd think a B. We're reeling from some recent things that have gone on inside our company as far as employees are concerned. We've had to make a few cuts, and they were painful. They were difficult. So but what I sense in the faces and in the comments I'm hearing around the conference room table and in our training rooms and at lunch, and what I'm hearing and sensing is that there's a renewed sense of vitality, because they realize, man, he was serious. culture is important to him, and the changes that he made, while difficult, are protecting our culture, and the company is going to be better as a result.
Fantastic. Sounds like you've really done well executing your plan, Jason. For the listeners out there who are interested in doing business with Energy Lighting Services, what's the best way for them to contact your team?
Well, as always, we've got our website. It's energylightingservices.com, and there's a significant amount of information out there. We've got case studies, fact sheets. We believe in videos, so there's a lot of video testimonials. There's a lot of other videos of just me explaining some of the things that we do. And then we have a phone number, 855-270-3300, 855-270-3300, and you can ring right into us and talk to any of us. And extension 6 is for electrical service in the Nashville market.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Jason, and for sharing how you grew your company so fast.
Well, I appreciate it. You've done a great job of asking good questions, so that always makes my job of answering them much easier, so thank you.
All right, next time I'm going to give you even tougher questions.
All right, looking forward to it.
All right. We've been speaking with Jason Duncan, the founder, president, and CEO of Energy Lighting Services, about his company's rapid growth. For other interviews with fast-growing companies, or to learn how we can increase your firm's high-ticket sales through automation, visit Eversprint.com.